The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the train station platform in Redemption Creek, Wyoming territory. Sarah Mitchell stood alone, clutching her worn carpetbag in one hand and cradling her 3-month-old daughter against her chest with the other. The baby's soft whimpers mingled with the fading whistle of the departing train. She'd been waiting for 2 hours. The letter had been clear. Mr. Edmund Hartley would meet her at the station at 3 o'clock sharp. She glanced at the station clock again. 5:15. He wasn't coming. Sarah's throat tightened as the reality settled over her like a heavy blanket. She had no money for a return ticket to Philadelphia, no family to wire for help. Her sister had made it abundantly clear that Sarah and her bastard child were no longer welcome under her roof. The baby, Rose, began to cry in earnest now, sensing her mother's distress. "Shh, sweet girl," Sarah murmured, rocking gently. "We'll figure something out. We always do." But even as she spoke the words, panic crept up her spine. Night was falling. The temperature was already dropping. Where would they sleep? What would they eat? The station master, an elderly man with kind eyes, approached hesitantly. "Miss, we're closing up for the night. Is someone coming for you?" Sarah forced a smile that felt like broken glass. I'm sure they'll be here any moment." The lie hung in the air between them. "I see." He didn't believe her. "Well, there's a boarding house 2 streets over. Mrs. Henderson might have a room if you've got the money." Sarah's silence was answer enough. The old man sighed. "Listen, I can't let you stay here overnight. It gets cold, and with a baby—" He trailed off, clearly uncomfortable. "There's a church down Main Street. Pastor Williams and his wife might be able to help." Charity, the word Sarah had sworn she'd never need again. "Thank you," she whispered, blinking back tears that threatened to fall. As the station master retreated to his office, Sarah sank onto the wooden bench, exhaustion overwhelming her. Rose's cries had subsided into hiccuping sobs. The baby was hungry. Sarah was hungry. They were both cold and tired and utterly alone. She pulled the letter from her pocket, reading it for the 100th time. Mr. Edmund Hartley's careful script described a comfortable ranch house, a prosperous cattle operation, and a need for a wife to help manage his household. He'd seemed kind in his letters, respectful. He'd even said he didn't mind about the baby. But those had been lies, apparently. Or he'd taken one look at her stepping off the train, plain, exhausted with a crying infant, and changed his mind. "Excuse me, ma'am." The deep voice startled her. Sarah looked up to find a man standing a few feet away, hat in his hands. He was enormous, easily 6.5 feet tall, with shoulders that seemed to span half the platform. Dark hair fell across his forehead, and his eyes, almost black in the fading light, studied her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "I don't mean to intrude," he continued, his voice a low rumble, "but I couldn't help noticing you've been sitting here a while. Are you waiting for someone?" Sarah straightened her spine, trying to summon dignity she didn't feel. "That's really none of your concern, sir." "No, ma'am. You're right about that." He didn't move away, though. "It's just, well, it's getting dark and cold, and you've got a baby there." "I'm perfectly aware of the situation, thank you." He was quiet for a moment, then took a step closer. Despite his size, there was something gentle in the way he moved, like he was trying not to frighten her. "My name's Cole Brennan. I run a ranch about 10 miles north of here. I came into town for supplies and—" He hesitated, seeming to struggle with his words. "Look, I don't know your circumstances, and I won't pry, but if you need help, I'd be obliged to offer it." Sarah studied him more carefully. His clothes were clean but worn, the clothes of a working man. His face was weathered and lined, probably in his late 30s or early 40s. There was a scar running through his left eyebrow. But his eyes, when they met hers, held no threat, only concern. "Why would you help a stranger?" she asked quietly. Cole's jaw tightened. "Let's just say I know what it's like to be alone and out of options. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, especially not a woman with a baby." Rose chose that moment to let out a wail that echoed across the empty platform. Sarah's arms ached from holding her, and her breasts were painfully full. She needed to feed the baby somewhere warm and private. "I was supposed to meet someone," Sarah heard herself say. "A Mr. Edmund Hartley. I came here to marry him. We'd been corresponding for 3 months. But he didn't come." Understanding flickered across Cole's face. "A mail order arrangement." Yes, the admission burned. Clearly he changed his mind. Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. "Edmund Hartley died 2 weeks ago. Horse kicked him in the head. Killed him instantly." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. "He's dead?" "Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I knew Edmund. Not well, but enough to know he was a decent man. If he'd been alive, he would have been here. Sarah felt the world tilt beneath her. He hadn't rejected her. He hadn't changed his mind. He'd simply died. The relief and grief tangled together in her chest. "I didn't know," she whispered. "No one told me. There wasn't anyone to tell you, probably. Edmund lived alone." Cole kept to himself, mostly, still holding his hat. "Look, Miss Mitchell, Sarah Mitchell. Miss Mitchell, I'm going to speak plainly because you're in a hard spot and you need to know your options. You can try the boarding house, but Mrs. Henderson charges $2 a night, and that's if she has a room. You can go to the church and ask for charity, which might work for a night or two, but not longer. Or," he paused, as if weighing his next words carefully. "Or," Sarah prompted, "or you can come with me to my ranch. I've got plenty of room, and I could use help around the place. I can pay you wages, not much, but enough to get by on, room and board included. You and the baby would be safe and warm and fed." Sarah's heart began to pound. "You're asking me to come live at your ranch with you?" "As my employee," Cole clarified quickly. "I've got a housekeeper's cabin that's empty. You'd have your own space, your own privacy. I'd never," he seemed to struggle for words. "I'm not asking for anything improper, Miss Mitchell. I'm offering you a job and a safe place to stay. That's all." "Why would you do this? You don't know me." Cole met her eyes. "I've been alone for 5 years. My wife died in childbirth, along with our son. My house is big and empty, and I'm not much of a cook. I burn everything I touch. The laundry piles up. The place is a mess. I could genuinely use help, and you genuinely need a place to stay. Seems like it might work out for both of us." Sarah's mind raced. This was insane. Going off with a strange man to his isolated ranch. Everything she'd been taught warned against it. But what choice did she have? The church might take her in for a night, maybe 2. Then what? She had no skills beyond household work, no references, no money. Rose needed food and warmth and stability, and something in Cole Brennan's eyes, something sad and honest, made her believe him. "If I agreed," she said slowly, "it would be temporary, just until I can figure out something else, save some money. Of course, you can leave whenever you want. I won't stop you. And you swear you won't? You won't expect anything from me beyond household work?" Cole's expression darkened slightly, but not with anger. "With understanding. I give you my word, Miss Mitchell. You and your daughter will be safe in my home. I'll never lay a hand on you unless you ask me to. And I'll never ask." Sarah looked down at Rose, who had quieted in her arms, watching the big man with curious eyes. She thought of the long, cold night ahead, of hunger and fear and uncertainty. Then she looked back at Cole Brennan and made a decision that would change everything. "All right," she said quietly. "I'll come with you." Cole's shoulders relaxed slightly. "Good. That's good." He gestured toward the street. "I've got a wagon just down the way. Let me take your bag." As Sarah stood, her legs shaky from sitting so long, Cole reached for her carpet bag. His hand brushed hers, and she was startled by the warmth of his skin, the rough calluses that spoke of hard work. "Thank you," she murmured. "No need for thanks. Come on, let's get you and the little one somewhere warm." As they walked toward the wagon, Sarah couldn't help but notice the way people on the street glanced at them. The enormous, scarred cowboy, and the small woman with a baby. What must they think? Cole's wagon was sturdy and well-maintained. He helped her up onto the seat with surprising gentleness, his large hands careful as he steadied her. "Here," he said, pulling a thick wool blanket from behind the seat. "Wrap this around you and the baby. It's a cold ride out to the ranch." Sarah accepted the blanket gratefully, tucking it around Rose. The baby made a small sound of contentment, finally warm. Cole climbed up beside her, and Sarah was acutely aware of how much space he took up. He wasn't just tall, he was broad and solid, like a mountain, yet when he glanced down at her, there was nothing threatening in his expression. "Comfortable enough?" he asked. "Yes, thank you." He picked up the reins and clicked to the horses. As the wagon began to move, Sarah watched Redemption Creek fade behind them, the lights of town growing dimmer in the gathering darkness. "Mr. Brennan," she said after a few minutes of silence. "Cole, just Cole. Cole, I need to feed the baby soon. She's overdue for her evening feeding. We'll stop in about a mile. There's a sheltered spot by the creek. You can have privacy there." Sarah felt relief wash through her. He'd anticipated her need without her having to ask. That was kind. They rode in silence for a while. The only sounds, the clip-clop of hooves and the creak of the wagon. Sarah studied Cole's profile in the fading light. His jaw was strong, covered in dark stubble. His nose looked like it had been broken at least once. Everything about him spoke of hardness, of a difficult life. Yet his eyes, when they'd looked at her, had been gentle. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah ventured. "And go ahead. Why are you really doing this?" The truth. Cole was quiet for so long she thought he might not answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was rougher than before. "I told you my wife and son died. What I didn't tell you is that I wasn't there when it happened. I was 3 towns over, buying cattle. By the time I got home, they were both already buried. I never got to say goodbye, never got to—" He stopped, swallowing hard. "I've lived alone for 5 years, Miss Mitchell. 5 years of silence and empty rooms and wondering what the point of it all is. When I saw you sitting there on that platform, holding your baby, looking so lost, I don't know. Maybe I thought I could do something right for once. Maybe I just wanted to hear a baby cry in my house again. I honestly don't know." Sarah's throat tightened with unexpected emotion. "I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for whatever brought you here, desperate enough to marry a stranger." "Rose's father was a mistake," Sarah said quietly. "A man who promised marriage and then disappeared. The moment I told him I was pregnant, my family disowned me. My sister took me in, but she made it clear every day how much of a burden we were. When I saw Mr. Hartley's advertisement, it seemed like a chance to start over, to give Rose a better life." "You love her," Cole observed. "The baby, that's clear. She's everything to me. Then we'll make sure she's taken care of." Cole pulled the wagon to a stop near a small grove of trees. "Here's the spot I mentioned. Take your time. I'll water the horses." "Never." He climbed down and moved away, giving her complete privacy. Sarah was struck by his consideration. She fed Rose in the sheltered darkness, listening to the sound of the creek and Cole's low voice speaking to the horses. When she finished, she called out softly, and Cole returned to help her back onto the wagon seat. "All set?" "Yes, thank you." They continued into the darkness, and Sarah found herself relaxing slightly. Whatever happened next, at least tonight, Rose would sleep somewhere warm. "Tell me about your ranch," she said, wanting to fill the silence. Cole seemed to consider his words. "It's about 600 acres. I run cattle mostly, some horses. The house is, well, it's bigger than one man needs. My father built it thinking he'd fill it with children. He got me and 2 daughters, both of whom married and moved east. When he died, he left it all to me. I've kept it running, but—" He trailed off. "But it's lonely," Sarah finished. "Yes, ma'am, it's lonely." They fell into a comfortable silence after that. Sarah found herself studying Cole's hands on the reins, large and scarred, but steady, strong. Hands that had clearly worked hard for everything he had. After about an hour, lights appeared in the distance. "That's home," Cole said quietly. As they drew closer, Sarah could make out a large 2-story house, well-maintained despite its age. There was a barn, several outbuildings, and what looked like a small cabin set apart from the main house. "That's where you'll stay," Cole said, pointing to the cabin. "It's not fancy, but it's clean and warm. I'll get a fire going for you." He pulled the wagon to a stop in front of the main house and climbed down, then turned to help Sarah. His hands spanned her waist as he lifted her down, and she was struck by how careful he was, as if she might break. "Let me show you the cabin first. Get you settled." Sarah followed him across the yard, Rose drowsy in her arms. Cole opened the cabin door and lit a lamp, revealing a single room with a bed, a small table and chairs, a wood stove, and a rocking chair by the window. "It's perfect," Sarah breathed. Cole moved to the stove, quickly building a fire. "I'll bring you some food from the main house. There's a well just outside, water's clean and cold, chamber pots under the bed. In the morning I'll show you around properly, explain what needs doing." "Cole," he turned to look at her. "Thank you, truly. You've been incredibly kind." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise maybe, or pain. "Get some rest, Miss Mitchell. You've had a long day." He left, closing the door softly behind him. Sarah stood in the warm cabin, holding her sleeping daughter, and for the first time in months she felt something like hope. True to his word, Cole returned 20 minutes later with a basket of food, bread, cheese, cold chicken, and a jar of milk. "I wasn't sure what you'd need for the baby," he said, hovering in the doorway as if afraid to come inside. "But there's fresh milk from this morning if she takes it. She's still nursing, but thank you." "This is wonderful," Cole nodded, still not meeting her eyes. "If you need anything during the night, the main house is just across the yard. Don't hesitate to knock. I'm sure we'll be fine." "Right. Well, good night then." "Good night, Cole." After he left, Sarah ate ravenously, then changed Rose into a clean diaper and settled into the bed. The mattress was comfortable, the quilts thick and warm. Rose nursed again and fell into a deep sleep against Sarah's chest. As Sarah closed her eyes, she found herself thinking about Cole Brennan, his sad eyes, his gentle hands, the way he'd offered help without asking for anything in return. She'd come to Wyoming Territory to marry a stranger for security. Instead, she'd found something she hadn't expected: kindness. The next morning, Sarah woke to sunlight streaming through the cabin window and the smell of coffee. She sat up, confused, to find a tray on the table. Fresh coffee, biscuits, and eggs. Cole must have brought it while she slept. She fed and changed Rose, then ventured outside. The ranch was beautiful in the morning light, surrounded by rolling hills and pine forests. Cattle dotted the distant pastures, and horses grazed in a nearby corral. Cole emerged from the barn, saw her, and raised a hand in greeting. He crossed the yard with long strides. "Morning," he said, his voice still rough with sleep. "Hope you rested well." "Very well, thank you. And thank you for breakfast. Figured you'd be hungry." He glanced at Rose, who was watching him with bright eyes. "How's the little one? Happy now that she's had a full night's sleep?" Cole's expression softened. "She's beautiful. How old?" 3 months. She's got your eyes." Sarah felt heat rise to her cheeks. "That's kind of you to say." An awkward silence fell between them. Cole cleared his throat. "Well, I thought I'd show you around today. Give you a sense of what needs doing, but only if you're up for it. If you need more rest, I'd like to see everything." Sarah interrupted. "I want to earn my keep." "All right then." Cole gestured toward the main house. "Let's start there." The house was indeed large, a sprawling structure with a wide front porch and large windows. Inside, Sarah found beautiful woodwork and spacious rooms, but also evidence of Cole's bachelor existence. Dishes were piled in the sink, dust covered most surfaces, and laundry was heaped in corners. "I told you I'm not much of a housekeeper," Cole said, sounding almost embarrassed. Sarah couldn't help but smile. "It's nothing I can't handle." "I don't expect you to do everything at once," he said quickly. "Take your time. Focus on whatever you think is most important." Over the next hour, Cole showed her where everything was. The pantry, surprisingly well stocked, the linen closet, the kitchen pump. He was thorough but never condescending, treating her like a competent adult rather than a charity case. "What about Rose?" Sarah asked. "While I'm working." "Bring her with you. I don't mind a baby in the house. Might be nice, actually." His voice caught slightly on the last word. Sarah studied his profile, saw the grief he tried to hide. "How old would your son be now, if he'd lived?" Cole's jaw tightened. 5, almost 5. "I'm sorry." "Me too." He turned to face her. "Look, Miss Mitchell, Sarah, if I can call you that, I know this arrangement is strange, but I want you to know you're not a servant here. He struggled for words. "You're someone helping me out while I help you out. We're partners in this, equals, understand?" Sarah nodded, touched by his earnestness. "I understand." "Good. Now do you cook?" Sarah laughed. "Yes. That's one thing I can definitely do." Relief washed over Cole's face. "Thank the Lord. I was about to starve to death on my own cooking." The day passed in a blur of activity. Sarah cooked a proper lunch, the first hot meal Cole had eaten in weeks that didn't taste like charcoal. She started on the laundry, tackled the kitchen, and made a list of supplies they'd need. Through it all, Cole was nearby, helping where he could, playing with Rose when Sarah's hands were full. The sight of the huge, rough cowboy gently bouncing the baby made something in Sarah's chest ache. That evening, after another meal, which Cole praised effusively, Sarah put Rose to bed in the cabin and returned to the main house to finish the kitchen. She found Cole on the front porch, watching the sunset. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said as she joined him. "Yes. I've never seen anything like it." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Cole said, "You did good work today, more than I expected. I told you I'd earn my keep. You've already earned more than that." He turned to look at her, his dark eyes serious. "Sarah, I want you to know you're welcome here for as long as you need, whether that's a week or a year or longer. There's no pressure, no expectations beyond what we've agreed to." "Why are you so kind to me?" Sarah asked softly. "The truth, Cole." He was quiet for a long time, staring out at the darkening sky. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Because everyone deserves a second chance. I've spent 5 years punishing myself for not being there when my family needed me, for failing them. Maybe helping you and Rose is my way of making up for that. I don't know. Does that make sense? Yes, Sarah said. It makes perfect sense. Cole turned to her, and in the fading light, Sarah saw something in his expression that made her breath catch. Not desire, not exactly. Something deeper, longing maybe. A need for connection that went beyond the physical. I should get back to Rose, she said, suddenly nervous. Of course. Good night, Sarah. Good night, Cole. As she walked back to the cabin, Sarah's heart was racing. She told herself it was just gratitude she felt, relief at having found a safe place. But deep down, she knew it was something more. The weeks that followed fell into a comfortable rhythm. Sarah cooked and cleaned, tended the house and the vegetable garden, and cared for Rose. Cole worked the ranch, fixed things that needed fixing, and came home each evening to hot meals and a house that finally felt like a home. They talked during dinner, careful conversations at first, then deeper ones. Cole told her about his childhood, his parents, his dreams for the ranch. Sarah shared stories about Philadelphia, her family, the dreams she'd once had before life got complicated. They never touched, never crossed the invisible line Cole had drawn, but the tension between them grew stronger each day. Sarah noticed the way Cole's eyes followed her as she moved around the kitchen, the way his voice softened when he spoke to her, the way he always made sure she had everything she needed before he thought of himself. And she noticed her own reactions, the flutter in her stomach when he smiled, the warmth that spread through her when his hand accidentally brushed hers, the way she found herself watching him through the window as he worked. On a Tuesday morning in early autumn, Sarah was hanging laundry when she heard a commotion from the barn. She quickly settled Rose in her basket and hurried over to find Cole struggling with a young mare that had gotten spooked. "Easy, girl," Cole murmured, his voice low and soothing. "Easy now." Sarah watched, mesmerized, as his large hands moved over the horse's neck, calming her with gentle strokes. The mare finally settled, and Cole looked up to find Sarah watching him. "Didn't mean to worry you," he said, slightly breathless. "She got startled by a snake." "You're good with her," Sarah observed, stepping closer. "Animals respond to a gentle hand," Cole said, still stroking the mare's neck. "They can sense when someone means them harm. When they're safe, they settle." Sarah felt her cheeks warm. "Is that why Rose adores you so much?" Cole's expression softened. "That little girl has stolen my heart. I hope that's all right." "More than all right." Sarah moved closer, close enough to smell leather and hay, and something uniquely Cole. "She needs a father figure. I never imagined she'd have that." "Every child deserves to feel loved and protected," Cole said quietly. His eyes met hers, dark and intense. "Every woman does too." The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken feelings. Sarah's heart pounded so loudly she was certain Cole could hear it. "I should get back to the laundry," she whispered, but she didn't move. "Sarah." Cole's hand lifted, then dropped back to his side, as if he'd stopped himself from reaching for her. "I want you to know something. These weeks with you here, they've meant more to me than I can say." "They've meant something to me too," Sarah admitted. Cole took a step closer, and Sarah had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "If I ever make you uncomfortable, if I ever cross a line, you tell me. I meant what I said that first night. You're safe here." "I know I am," Sarah said. "I've never felt safer in my life." Something flickered in Cole's eyes, hope, maybe, or longing, but he simply nodded and turned back to the mare, and Sarah returned to her laundry with trembling hands. That evening, as Sarah prepared dinner, a fierce autumn storm rolled in. Thunder cracked across the sky, and rain lashed against the windows. Rose began to cry, frightened by the noise. "Shh, sweet girl," Sarah murmured, bouncing her gently. "It's just a storm." But Rose wouldn't be consoled. Her cries grew louder, more distressed. Cole appeared in the kitchen doorway, dripping wet from securing the animals. "Is she all right?" "She's frightened," Sarah said apologetically. "I'm sorry, I know the noise." "Hand her to me." Sarah blinked. "What?" "Let me try." "Please." Sarah hesitated, then carefully passed Rose to Cole. His huge hands were gentle as he took the baby, cradling her against his broad chest. "There now," he rumbled, his deep voice somehow cutting through Rose's cries. "You're all right, little one. That thunder can't hurt you. You're safe here with us." To Sarah's amazement, Rose's cries began to quiet. She stared up at Cole with wide eyes, seemingly fascinated by his deep voice. "That's right," Cole continued, slowly rocking her. "Just a storm passing through, nothing to fear. Your mama's here and I'm here and we'll always keep you safe." Rose's tiny hand reached up and grabbed Cole's finger. He smiled, a real smile that transformed his usually serious face. "She trusts you," Sarah said softly. "I'd die before I let anything happen to her," Cole replied, and Sarah knew he meant it. "Or to you." The storm raged outside, but inside the kitchen, Sarah felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the stove. She watched Cole with her daughter, this gentle giant who'd given them sanctuary, and felt her heart open wider. "Cole," she said quietly, "can I ask you something personal?" "Always." "Do you ever regret it? Taking us in? Your life was simpler before we arrived." Cole looked at her, his expression serious. "My life was empty before you arrived. There's a difference between simple and worth living. I haven't felt this alive in 5 years, Sarah. If anything, I'm afraid you'll realize you can do better than this. Better than me. Better than you," Sarah repeated, incredulous. "Cole, you're the best man I've ever known. I'm a scarred, broken widower twice your age. You're kind and gentle and honorable," Sarah interrupted. "You've shown me more respect and consideration than any man ever has. You've loved my daughter like she's your own. You've given us a home when we had nowhere else to go. How could I possibly do better than that?" Cole stared at her, Rose still cradled in his arms. "Sarah!" Thunder cracked again, making them both jump. Rose whimpered, and Cole resumed his gentle rocking. "I should check the cabin," he said gruffly. "Make sure the roof isn't leaking. I'll come with you." They hurried across the muddy yard, Cole shielding Rose and Sarah with his body. Inside the cabin, they found water dripping steadily from the corner of the ceiling. "Damn," Cole muttered. "I meant to fix that before winter. You can't stay here tonight, not with the baby. You'll both sleep in the main house." "Cole, I couldn't." "You'll take my room. I'll sleep on the sofa in the parlor." "It's not up for debate, Sarah. I won't have you and Rose sleeping in a wet cabin." Sarah knew better than to argue when Cole used that tone. They gathered what they needed and returned to the main house, where Cole showed her to his bedroom. It was sparse but clean, with a large bed and simple furniture. It smelled like him, leather and pine, and something warm and masculine. "I'll change the sheets," Cole said, already stripping the bed. "Cole, you don't have to. I want you comfortable." He worked quickly, replacing the sheets with fresh ones, then setting up a small nest of blankets on the floor beside the bed. "For Rose, so she's close to you." Sarah's throat tightened with emotion. "Thank you. I'll be downstairs if you need anything." He handed Rose back to her, his fingers brushing Sarah's in the transfer. The touch sent sparks through her skin. "Good night, Sarah." "Good night." After he left, Sarah fed Rose and settled her in the blanket nest. The baby fell asleep quickly, exhausted from crying. Sarah changed into her nightgown and climbed into Cole's bed, surrounded by his scent. She lay awake for a long time, listening to the storm and thinking about the man sleeping downstairs. The man who'd saved her and Rose without asking for anything in return. The man she was falling in love with, whether she wanted to or not. The next morning, Sarah woke to find Cole already up and working. She dressed quickly and found him in the kitchen, attempting to make coffee. "Let me," she said with a smile, taking over. They fell into an easy routine, Sarah cooking breakfast while Cole entertained Rose, making silly faces that had the baby giggling. "I'll fix the cabin roof today," Cole said over eggs and bacon. "Should have it done by this evening." "I can help," Sarah offered. "It's dangerous work. I'd rather you didn't." "Cole Brennan, I'm not made of glass. I can hand you tools at least." He looked like he wanted to argue, then sighed. "All right, but you stay on the ground. No climbing." They worked together all day, Cole on the roof and Sarah below, handing up supplies and keeping an eye on Rose. It felt good, working side by side, partners in the truest sense. At one point, Cole slipped on the wet shingles. Sarah's heart stopped as he caught himself, and she found herself shaking with fear. "Be careful," she called up. Cole looked down at her, surprised by the terror in her voice. "I'm fine, Sarah. You could have fallen. I've been climbing roofs since I was 10 years old. I know what I'm doing." But Sarah couldn't shake the fear. The thought of Cole hurt, of losing him, was unbearable. That realization shook her to her core. When had he become so essential to her? When had the thought of life without him become unthinkable? That evening, after the roof was repaired and Rose was asleep in the cabin, Sarah found Cole on the porch again. "Can I join you?" she asked. "Always." They sat in companionable silence, watching the stars emerge. "Sarah," Cole said finally, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "When you were screaming at me to be careful today, why were you so frightened?" Sarah's hands twisted in her lap. "Because I couldn't bear it if something happened to you." "Why not?" She turned to face him, her heart pounding. "You know why." Cole's eyes searched hers. "I need to hear you say it." "Because I care about you," Sarah whispered. "More than I should, more than is probably wise." "Sarah, I know it's foolish. I know I'm just your housekeeper, that this arrangement is temporary, but I can't help how I feel, Cole. You've been so good to us, and I—" Cole's hand came up to cup her cheek, silencing her. "You're not just my housekeeper. You haven't been for weeks now, and this arrangement doesn't have to be temporary unless you want it to be." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I care about you too. I'm saying that having you here has made me happier than I've been in years. I'm saying that I go to sleep every night thinking about you and wake up every morning looking forward to seeing your face." His thumb stroked her cheek. "I'm saying that I'm falling in love with you, Sarah Mitchell, and I don't know what to do about it." Sarah's breath caught. You're in love with me?" "Hopelessly. Completely. I tried to fight it. Told myself it was too soon, that you deserved better, but I can't help it. I love you." Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks. "I love you too. I've been trying so hard not to, but I do. I love you, Cole." The kiss that followed was inevitable, necessary, perfect. Cole's lips were gentle at first, questioning, but when Sarah responded, winding her arms around his neck, the kiss deepened. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Cole rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me," he whispered, "not as my housekeeper, as my wife. Marry me, Sarah. Let me be a father to Rose. Let me love you both for the rest of my life." Sarah pulled back to look at him. "Are you sure?" "Cole, I come with baggage. A baby that isn't yours. A past I'm not proud of. I don't care about any of that. I care about you, about Rose, about the family we could be together." "People will talk," Sarah said. "A mail-order bride who married the wrong man. Let them talk. I've never cared what people think, and I'm not starting now." Cole's hands framed her face. "Say yes, Sarah. Please. Make me the happiest man alive." Sarah looked into his eyes and saw nothing but sincerity, love, and hope. This man who'd saved her, protected her, shown her what real love looked like. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, I'll marry you." Cole's whoop of joy startled the horses in the barn. He picked Sarah up and spun her around, both of them laughing like children. When he set her down, his expression turned serious. "I want to do this right, court you properly. I know we're already living under the same roof, but I want to show you that you're special to me, that this means something." "Cole, you don't have to—" "I want to. You deserve romance, Sarah. You deserve to be wooed." And woo her he did. Over the next 2 weeks, Cole brought her wildflowers every day. He took her on picnic lunches by the creek. He read to her in the evenings, his deep voice making even simple stories sound like poetry. He played with Rose for hours, giving Sarah time to rest. He also took her into town to buy a proper engagement ring, a simple gold band with a small diamond that made Sarah gasp. "It's too much," she protested. "It's not nearly enough," Cole replied, "but it's all the jeweler had. When we can afford it, I'll buy you something better." "I don't want anything better. This is perfect." The town gossip certainly noticed the ring and the fact that Cole Brennan was suddenly courting his housekeeper. Sarah overheard whispers at the general store, saw the judgmental looks, but Cole seemed oblivious to it all. He held her hand proudly, introduced her as his fiancée, and dared anyone to say something negative with a single look. One afternoon, they were having lunch at the town's small restaurant when a well-dressed woman approached their table. "Cole Brennan," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "I heard you were engaged. I had to see it for myself." "Mrs. Thornton," Cole said coolly. The woman's eyes raked over Sarah with barely concealed disdain. "So this is the mail-order bride who couldn't even land Edmund Hartley? How convenient that she ended up at your ranch instead." Sarah felt her cheeks burn, but before she could respond, Cole stood. His full height was intimidating, and Mrs. Thornton took an involuntary step back. "Mrs. Thornton," Cole said, his voice dangerously quiet, "I'm going to say this once. Sarah is the woman I love. She's going to be my wife. If you or anyone else in this town has a problem with that, you can take it up with me directly. But I warn you, I won't be nearly as polite next time." Mrs. Thornton's face went white. "Well, I never—" "Good. See that you don't. Now, if you'll excuse us, I'm having lunch with my beautiful fiancée." The woman scurried away, and Cole sat back down, taking Sarah's hand. "I'm sorry," Sarah whispered. "I didn't mean to cause you trouble." "You didn't cause anything. Some people have nothing better to do than judge others. Ignore them." "Easier said than done." Cole squeezed her hand. "Sarah, look at me. I don't care what they think. The only opinions that matter are ours, and I think you're the best thing that ever happened to me." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "How did I get so lucky to find you?" "I'm the lucky one, sweetheart. Never doubt that." They were married on a crisp October morning. Sarah wore a cream-colored dress that Cole had insisted on buying for her, and Cole wore his best suit, looking both terrified and elated. The ceremony was small, just them, Rose, the pastor and his wife, and a few ranch hands who worked for Cole. But when the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, and Cole kissed her with such tenderness and joy, Sarah felt like the luckiest woman alive. "Mrs. Brennan," Cole whispered against her lips. "My wife." "My husband," Sarah replied, still marveling at the words. The ranch hands had prepared a small celebration back at the house. Food, music, and even a cake. They danced in the living room, Cole holding Sarah carefully, as if she might break. "I've never been much of a dancer," he admitted, stepping on her toes. "You're doing fine," Sarah laughed. "Besides, I don't care about your dancing skills. I only care that you're mine." "I'm yours," Cole confirmed, "for the rest of my life." One evening, about 6 weeks after she'd arrived, Sarah was washing dishes when Cole came up behind her. "Let me help," he said, reaching for a towel. They worked in silence, side by side. Sarah was acutely aware of his presence, the heat radiating from his large body, the smell of leather and pine that clung to him, the strength in his hands as he dried each plate. "Sarah," he said suddenly. "Yes? I need to tell you something." Her heart began to pound. "All right." Cole set down the towel and turned to face her. "These past weeks, having you here, it's been—" He struggled for words. "I haven't been this happy in 5 years, maybe longer. You and Rose, you've brought life back into this house, into me." Sarah's hands trembled in the dishwater. "Cole, let me finish." He took a step closer, and Sarah had to tilt her head back to look at him. "I know our arrangement is supposed to be temporary. I know you're planning to save money and move on eventually, but I don't want you to go. I want you to stay permanently as your housekeeper." Sarah whispered, "As my wife." The words hung in the air between them. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "I know I'm not much to look at," Cole continued, his voice rough with emotion. "I'm too old, too scarred, too broken. I know you came here for Edmund, and he would have been a better husband than I could ever be. But I swear to you, Sarah, if you'll have me, I'll spend every day of my life making sure you and Rose are taken care of, protected, loved." "Loved?" Sarah repeated. Cole's hand came up, hesitating just inches from her face. "Can I?" Sarah nodded, unable to speak. His palm cupped her cheek, rough and warm and infinitely gentle. "I love you," he said simply. "I've tried not to. I told myself it was too soon, that you'd never want a man like me, but I can't help it. I love you, Sarah Mitchell. I love your strength and your kindness and the way you hum while you cook. I love how you are with Rose, how you've brought warmth back into this cold house. I love everything about you." Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks. "Cole, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. That's all I ask. Think about staying, about being my wife, not just my housekeeper, about building a life here together." Sarah reached up and covered his hand with hers. "I don't need to think about it." Cole's face fell. "I understand. I love you too." He froze. "What?" "I love you, Cole Brennan. I think I started falling for you that first night when you offered help without asking for anything in return. Every day since then, I've fallen a little more. The way you are with Rose, the way you treat me like I matter, the way you've given us a home and asked for nothing back. How could I not love you?" Cole's eyes shone with unshed tears. "You mean it?" "I mean it with all my heart." "Sarah." Her name was a prayer on his lips. "Can I kiss you?" "Yes." He bent down slowly, giving her time to change her mind. But Sarah didn't want to change her mind. She wanted this, wanted him. more than she'd ever wanted anything. When his lips met hers, it was gentle and sweet and full of promise. Sarah's hands came up to rest on his chest, feeling the steady thunder of his heartbeat. Cole's arms wrapped around her, pulling her close, and Sarah felt safe in a way she'd never felt before. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Cole rested his forehead against hers. "Marry me," he whispered. "Please, I'll spend the rest of my life making you happy." "Yes," Sarah breathed. "Yes, I'll marry you." Cole's smile was like sunrise breaking over the mountains, brilliant and beautiful and full of hope. They were married 3 days later in Redemption Creek, with the pastor and his wife as witnesses. Sarah wore a simple blue dress, and Cole wore his best suit, looking both terrified and elated. When the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, Cole kissed Sarah with such tenderness that the pastor's wife wiped tears from her eyes. That night, in the big house that was now truly their home, Cole carried Sarah over the threshold while she carried Rose. "Welcome home, Mrs. Brennan," he murmured. Sarah smiled up at him. "I'm already home, Cole. I've been home since the night you found me." They put Rose to bed in the nursery Cole had hastily prepared, a beautiful room with a handmade cradle and soft yellow curtains. Sarah stood in the doorway, watching her daughter sleep, feeling overwhelmed with gratitude. "She's happy here," Cole said softly, coming up behind her. "You can see it in the way she smiles now. She knows she's loved." "Because of you," Sarah said, leaning back against his chest. "You've given her what I couldn't, a father's love." Cole's arms wrapped around her. "She's my daughter now, in every way that matters." They stood there for a long moment. Then Cole gently turned Sarah to face him. "I want tonight to be special for you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "I want you to know how much you mean to me, how much I love you." Sarah's heart raced. "I know, Cole. You show me every day. Let me show you again." He led her to their bedroom, the master bedroom that had been so empty and cold for 5 years. But tonight, Cole had filled it with candles, and the soft light made everything feel warm and intimate. "Cole," Sarah breathed. While you were getting Rose settled, I wanted everything to be perfect for you." Sarah turned to him, her eyes shining. "You're perfect. This is perfect. Everything about this is more than I ever dreamed of." Cole cupped her face in his large hands. "Sarah, I need you to understand something. What we're about to do, it means everything to me." "You mean everything to me. If at any point you're uncomfortable, if you need me to stop or slow down, you tell me. Promise me." "I promise." "But Cole, I want this. I want you. I'm not afraid." "You're sure?" In answer, Sarah rose on her tiptoes and kissed him, pouring all her love and desire into it. Cole groaned against her lips, his arms tightening around her. "Sarah," he breathed. "My beautiful wife." He undressed her slowly, reverently, his hands trembling slightly as he revealed her body. When she stood before him in only her undergarments, he paused. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Sarah blushed. "Cole, I've had a baby. My body isn't. Your body is perfect. You're perfect. Don't ever doubt that." He kissed her again, deeper this time, and Sarah's fingers worked at the buttons of his shirt. When she pushed it off his shoulders, she found scars, evidence of a life of hard work and harder trials. "Your turn to feel self-conscious?" she teased gently. Cole's jaw tightened. "I'm not a young man anymore, Sarah. I'm scarred and rough and mine," Sarah finished. "Every scar, every line, every part of you is mine. And I love all of it." Cole's eyes darkened with emotion. "How did I get so lucky?" "We both got lucky." He picked her up easily, as if she weighed nothing, and laid her on the bed. Then he proceeded to show her, with infinite patience and tenderness, exactly how much he loved her. His hands were careful, always checking that she was comfortable, that she was enjoying herself. His kisses were deep and passionate, making Sarah's head spin. When he finally joined their bodies, moving slowly to give her time to adjust to his size, Sarah felt something shift in her soul. This was what making love was supposed to be. Not the hurried, shameful encounter that had given her Rose, but this, two people who loved each other completely, giving themselves to each other without reservation. "All right," Cole whispered, holding himself still above her. "More than all right. Don't stop, Cole. Please don't stop." He began to move, slowly at first, then with increasing passion as Sarah urged him on. She'd never felt anything like this. The pleasure, The connection, the overwhelming sense of rightness. When they reached their peak together, Cole held her close, murmuring words of love against her skin. Afterwards, as they lay tangled together, Sarah felt tears slip down her cheeks. "Sarah?" Cole's voice was concerned. "Did I hurt you?" "No," she said quickly. "Not at all. These are happy tears. I never knew it could be like this, that I could feel this loved." Cole pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "I'll love you like this every day for the rest of our lives. I promise you that." They fell asleep, wrapped in each other's arms, and for the first time in years, Cole slept through the night without nightmares. The months that followed were blissful. Sarah and Cole settled into married life, running the ranch together, raising Rose together. The baby was growing quickly, learning to sit up, to babble, to reach for Cole with delighted giggles whenever he came into view. "She loves her papa," Sarah would say, watching them together. "And her papa loves her," Cole would reply, making silly faces that had Rose squealing with laughter. Winter came early that year, blanketing the ranch in snow. Cole taught Sarah how to ice skate on the frozen pond, holding her steady as she wobbled on borrowed skates. They built snowmen with Rose watching from her bundled position in Sarah's arms, and had snowball fights that left them both breathless with laughter. On Christmas morning, Sarah woke to find Cole already up, stoking the fire in the bedroom. "Merry Christmas, Mrs. Brennan," he said, coming to kiss her. "Merry Christmas, husband. I have something for you." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Inside was a delicate gold locket. "Open it," Cole urged. Sarah did, and found a tiny photograph inside. Her and Rose, taken just last week in town. "So, you'll always have her close to your heart," Cole explained. "Even when she's grown and making her own life." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Cole, it's beautiful, but I didn't get you anything nearly this nice. Sarah, you've given me everything. A home that feels like a home again. Laughter in these rooms. A family. You don't need to give me anything else." "Well, actually," Sarah said, a smile playing at her lips, "I do have something to tell you." "What's that?" "I'm pregnant." Cole froze. "You're what?" "I'm going to have a baby." "Your baby?" "We're going to have a baby." For a moment, Cole just stared at her. Then his face crumpled, and he pulled her into his arms, his shoulders shaking with emotion. "Cole?" Sarah asked, concerned. "Are you all right?" "I never thought..." His voice was thick with tears. "I never thought I'd get this chance again. After losing my son, I thought that part of my life was over." "It's not over," Sarah said softly, holding him tight. "We're going to have a baby, Cole. A new beginning." Cole pulled back to look at her, his eyes shining. "When?" "Late summer, I think. Early September." "September," Cole repeated, wonder in his voice. He placed his hand on her still flat stomach. "Our child. Are you happy?" "Happy doesn't begin to cover it. Sarah, I'm overwhelmed, grateful, terrified, excited, everything all at once." Sarah laughed. "That's exactly how I feel." They told Rose the news, though at 8 months old she couldn't understand. But she seemed to sense something special was happening, giggling and clapping her hands. As spring arrived and Sarah's belly began to swell, Cole became almost comically protective. He wouldn't let her lift anything heavy, insisted she rest frequently, and worried constantly about her health. "Cole, I'm pregnant, not made of glass," Sarah protested one afternoon when he'd practically carried her to a chair. "I know that. I can't lose you, Sarah. I can't lose another wife, another child. I couldn't survive it." Sarah took his face in her hands. "You're not going to lose me. I'm strong, and Dr. Patterson says everything looks perfect. The baby is healthy, and so am I. Promise me you'll tell me if anything feels wrong. Anything at all." "I promise." But despite his worry, Cole was also excited. He built a new cradle with his own hands, carved with intricate designs. He prepared the nursery, painting it a soft green. He read books about babies and childhood, wanting to be prepared. One evening in late July, Sarah was rocking Rose to sleep when she felt it, a sharp pain that took her breath away. "Cole!" she called out. He was there in an instant. "What's wrong?" I think it might be time, but it's too early. The baby isn't due for 6 more weeks." Cole's face went pale. "I'm getting the doctor." "Oh, Cole, it might be nothing." But he was already moving, riding into town faster than Sarah had ever seen him ride. Dr. Patterson arrived within the hour, examining Sarah with gentle efficiency. "The baby is coming," he confirmed. "It's early, but not dangerously so. Some babies just decide they're ready on their own schedule. The labor was long and difficult. Sarah had never experienced pain like this, not even with Rose. Hour after hour passed, with Cole holding her hand, wiping her forehead, murmuring words of encouragement. "You're doing so well, sweetheart. So strong. Just a little longer." "I can't," Sarah gasped at one point. "Cole, I can't." "Yes, you can. You're the strongest woman I know. You can do this, Sarah. You can." Finally, as dawn broke over the Wyoming mountains, their son was born. A tiny, perfect baby boy with a powerful set of lungs. "You have a son, Mr. Brennan," Dr. Patterson said, placing the baby in Cole's arms. Cole stared down at the infant, tears streaming down his face. "A son," he whispered. "I have a son. Let me see him," Sarah said weakly from the bed. Cole brought the baby to her, settling him carefully in her arms. The baby was small but perfectly formed, with dark hair like his father's and Sarah's delicate features. "He's beautiful," Sarah breathed. "He's perfect." "You're perfect." "Sarah, thank you. Thank you for giving me this gift." They named him James Edward Brennan, after Cole's father and Sarah's late grandfather, Jamie for short. The first few weeks were exhausting, with a newborn and a 1-year-old to care for. But Cole was an attentive father and husband, getting up for nighttime feedings, changing diapers, entertaining Rose while Sarah rested. One night, Sarah woke to find Cole's side of the bed empty. She got up and found him in the nursery, sitting in the rocking chair with Jamie asleep against his chest. "Cole?" she whispered. He looked up, and even in the dim lamplight she could see tears on his cheeks. "I was just thinking," he said softly, "about how my first son never drew breath, how I held him for just a moment before they took him away, how empty my arms felt, how empty my life felt after that." Sarah moved closer, placing her hand on his shoulder. "And now," Cole continued, "I have this: 2 beautiful children, a wife I adore, a house full of love and laughter. Sometimes I wonder if I'm dreaming, if I'll wake up and find myself alone again." "You're not dreaming," Sarah assured him. "This is real, Cole. We're real. This family is real." "I love you so much," Cole whispered. "All of you. My girls and my boy, my family. We love you too, more than words can say." As summer turned to fall, life on the ranch settled into a new rhythm. Rose was toddling now, getting into everything, and Jamie was growing strong and healthy. Cole hired more ranch hands to help with the work, giving him more time to spend with his family. One October afternoon, almost exactly 1 year after their wedding, Sarah and Cole were sitting on the porch, watching Rose chase chickens in the yard, while Jamie slept in his cradle beside them. "Can you believe it's been a year?" Sarah mused. "Best year of my life," Cole replied, taking her hand. "Mine too. Sometimes I think about that day at the train station. How scared I was. How certain I was that my life was over. Instead, it was just beginning." "Yes," Sarah squeezed his hand. "Cole, can I tell you something?" "Anything. When I first came here, I was grateful to you. Grateful for your kindness, for giving us a home. But I wasn't looking for love. I'd given up on that, thought it wasn't in the cards for me. And now I can't imagine my life without you. You've shown me what real love looks like. Patient and kind and constant. You've been a father to Rose when you didn't have to be. You've given me a son. You've made me happier than I ever thought possible." Cole turned to her, his dark eyes intense. "Sarah, you saved my life. I was just existing before you came along, going through the motions. You brought me back to life. You gave me a reason to wake up in the morning, to plan for the future, to hope again. Everything good in my life came from that moment I saw you sitting on that platform." "We saved each other," Sarah said. "Yes, we did." He leaned down to kiss her, soft and sweet, and Sarah felt a wave of contentment wash over her. This was everything she'd ever wanted, everything she'd thought was impossible. A home, a family, a man who loved her completely. Rose came running up the porch steps, her chubby legs pumping. "Papa! Papa!" Cole scooped her up, settling her on his knee. "What is it, little one?" "Bird!" Rose pointed at a robin in the nearby tree. "Yes, that's a bird." "Can you say robin?" "Wobbin!" Sarah laughed, her heart full to bursting. She looked at her husband, her daughter, her sleeping son, and knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Years would pass. More children would come. Another daughter they'd named Grace, and then twin boys who would keep them busy for decades. The ranch would prosper under Cole's careful management. Rose would grow up to be a teacher, Jamie a doctor, Grace a talented artist, and the twins would take over the ranch when Cole was ready to retire. But Sarah would always remember that day at the train station. The fear, the desperation, the certainty that her life was over. And she'd remember the moment Cole Brennan walked up to her, offering help without asking for anything in return. The moment everything changed. Sometimes the best things in life come when you least expect them. When you're at your lowest point, convinced there's no hope left. Sometimes salvation comes in the form of a gentle giant with sad eyes and a kind heart. Sometimes love finds you when you've stopped looking for it. And sometimes the family you choose is even more precious than the one you're born into. Sarah had learned all these truths and more. She'd learned that second chances are possible, that redemption is real, that love can heal even the deepest wounds. As she sat on that porch, surrounded by the family she'd built with Cole, Sarah sent up a silent prayer of gratitude for the train that had brought her to Redemption Creek, for the man who hadn't met her at the station, for the cowboy who'd offered his hand instead, for all the twists and turns that had led her here, to this moment, to this perfect life. "What are you thinking about?" Cole asked. Noting her distant expression, Sarah smiled up at him. "Just counting my blessings. And I'm the luckiest woman alive." Cole kissed her forehead. "I'm the lucky one, sweetheart. Always have been." Rose squirmed down from his lap and toddled over to investigate a butterfly. Jamie stirred in his cradle, making small baby sounds. The sun was setting over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. It was a perfect moment in a perfect life, and Sarah knew she would carry it in her heart. "Forever." "Cole," she said softly. "Yes?" "Thank you for finding me that day. Thank you for seeing me when I felt invisible. Thank you for loving me when I felt unlovable." Cole pulled her close. "Sarah, you were never invisible. You were never unlovable. You were always special, always deserving of love. I'm just grateful I was the one who got to show you that. We're quite a pair, aren't we? Both broken in our own ways, both thinking we'd never find happiness again. And now we're whole. Together, we're whole. Together," Cole agreed, "we're everything." As darkness fell over the Wyoming ranch, the Brennan family headed inside. There would be dinner to prepare, children to bathe, stories to read before bed, the ordinary routines of family life that were anything but ordinary when filled with love. And later, after the children were asleep, Cole and Sarah would lie in each other's arms and marvel at the life they'd built together. Two broken people who'd found each other in their darkest moments and created something beautiful. A family, a home, a love story that would last a lifetime. Sarah had come to Redemption Creek looking for security, for survival, for a way to provide for her daughter. Instead, she'd found redemption of her own. She'd found love, family, belonging, and purpose. She'd found home, and that she knew was worth more than all the security in the world. The end.